Alright, time to do a little update on the tank. See, the water's really clear now, and really tough to accomplish with all these fish. Every time they crack, it's just like a bomb goes off in the tank. So I'm moving a lot of water at 2 Javeo 12,000 running wide open. They're feeding 2 tanks. They're feeding this, and they're feeding the ray tank. And the ray tank is he's a dirty critter. He's been digging in the sand. But anyhow, the water's staying pretty clean. So what I did was I actually drilled this tank. You can see at the back corner there, to get all my water coming, mostly all my water out of this tank, going through my sand filter. So the sand filter is just an acrylic box, as you can see, and it's filled with sand about up to about half full. And then in the bottom, you can't see it, there's actually a pipe. This pipe right here runs right through both sides, and you can see, so it comes out this side, and then it comes out this side as well. So so what's going on is this valve is open, obviously, so this is where the water's coming out at, and it's coming out and it's getting fed down into my deep sand bed. And this valve obviously stays closed because this one actually goes to my sewer. It's hooked up to my sewer system, so right out to the sewer. So you can see that there's another pipe that comes out just beyond this, and it runs up to here. Well, this is my back flush. So what I do is remove this cap when I want to back flush. I'd have to cap this one off. This is my overflow, or my safety overflow, so that if this sand backs up too much, it's going to raise up, and then the water's going to start just running down this right here, and this is just going to lead down into my deep sand bed. So this over here is just a screw up. It's just capped off. This little pipe here, this is all the one that's coming from my tank. You can see, and I just put a turn up on it so that it's not pushing down at the sand, so it's more pushing it up in the air. And this is the same thing. This one's coming out of my other tank, the 150, and it's pushing up in the air the same way. So then this pipe that runs right through, it runs right through to the other side. Well, what I did was I drilled 4 holes or 5 holes in the ABS, and I got pool filter spigots. They're kind of, they're about 6 inches long, and they're filled with a whole bunch of little tiny slits, and that just keeps it so that the water can make it through, but the sand can't. So the water got to go down through this sand, and then it'll seep into those little spigots around here and down. So there's a lot of water moving through this, believe it or not. I wouldn't know how much, but anyway, there's a lot. But this thing's been running for 2 days straight now, and it's backed up a little bit, but I'm hoping I can get another day or 2 out of it. So hopefully I can get at least 3 or 4 days before I back flush this thing. So then, in order to back flush it, all I'm going to do is I'm going to shut my feed off from my tank. I'm going to shut this off, and then shut my other feed off from my tank. Let all the water run down through this, drain out in the sand. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shut this valve, and then I've got a water valve come in right here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank this up. That's going to force water up through the sand, and then it's going to rile all the stuff up, and then it's going to fill up, and then it's all going to just run out to drain. I'm going to let that run until the water runs clear, and it clears all this sand out. And then what I'll do is I'll turn my water off. Then I'm going to open this valve right here. This is going to allow the water, the fresh water that's in the bottom of this, to run to drain. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this valve and allow some salt water to run through this sand and then right out to my sewer system. And that way there I can do a water change at the same time. After I do that, I'm just going to close this valve, of course, open this one, and then reboot the system, and she'll just start, and then using this sand to do the filtering. So way easier and way better than filter socks. So the other thing that I did add is a deep sand bed. It's supposed to be real good for controlling nitrates and phosphates, so we'll see how that works over the next little while. So there's just a quick video to show you how this sand filter works. And I've got a cover I'm going to put on the top of this to keep the condensation in, of course, too. So there we go. Tank looks good. Everything's looking happy, as you can see. So a lot of fish in here. This Sohel tank is pushing 10 inches long now. So is the hippo. So is the flamingi. There's a couple of big sailfins, 3 nassos. There's a couple of eels in this tank. So there's a lot of fish in this tank, and so I need to come up with some way to keep the debris out of the water. And then plus in this tank we got this thing that's always digging in the sand, and now a couple of lions too, and pretty soon gonna have a shark. So a lot of bio load, and they're stirring it up, and you can see the debris in the water. This guy's just digging in the sand all the time, or the substrate, so he's just stirring it up steady. So there we go. Hopefully you guys had fun watching. This would be nice if it was in a fish room, obviously, or if the tank was in a separate room, and that's what I'll eventually have sometime, is you know, do an in-wall tank, and then all this stuff kind of off to the side. But just kind of getting it figured out how to do it is a good thing as well.